Hey guys, this is John. Happy New Year, 2020. I can't believe it's a new year. It's that time of year where many of us, myself included, really start looking at the year ahead. We start setting all these goals of how we want to lose weight, or how we want to get into shape, or how we want to make more money, or we want to enhance or improve our relationships, whatever the cases are. It's that time of year, that event, that catalyst where many of us trigger a change. The problem is most people who make goals or New Year's resolutions failure to keep them after the 3-month mark or so. And why is that? This is what I want to explore in this video today. I wanted to talk about the importance of goal setting, but also the importance of our mindset and the importance of figuring out what our why is on how you can go ahead and really keep goals. If you think I'm full of crap, or you think I don't know what I'm talking about, please look at the very first video I did, which was mid-January 2019. I did my very first YouTube video, and I spent about 40 minutes talking about every goal that I had for this year, or this last year, with the hope of over 24 months elevating and transforming my life. And then I could use YouTube videos to chronicle a journey, and at the end of those 24 months, look back and hopefully have the ability to be at a level I'm pleased with, and give the opportunity for me to build some credibility and hopefully help others do the same thing. So a little bit more specifically, what am I getting at here? Over the last 12 months, I really appreciated the importance of setting goals, how to set them right, what things to avoid, but more importantly, figuring out what your mindset, your drive, and what your real purpose is for setting goals to begin with, because I've learned a couple of things that are key. And one of those is, unless you have the right determination, unless you have the right conviction of what you want, most of the times you're not going to achieve what you're setting out to, because things are very hard. You take sacrifice, it takes time, it takes grit. And many of us just don't have that. We don't have the time for it. We feel like we're not going to achieve it, though we don't deserve it, whatever the case is. So there's a mental part of that. And this is what I wanted to explore in this video. What are the goal setting approaches to take? What things to avoid? And what do you really need to figure out and think about along the way to keep those sustainable over the long term? So let's dive into it first regarding goal setting. There are different classifications of goal setting I've learned. You have short and midterm, and you have long term. In order to do short-term planning very effectively, there's an acronym called SMART, which I think is extremely relevant and extremely important. SMART stands for specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-based. SMART goals are not going to be effective if you're trying to set longer term goals, because one thing that setting SMART goals do is it limits your ability to think big, to be bold. If you want to have a goal of acquiring $10 million, certainly that's a goal that's going to take some time if you're not acquiring $1 million or $500,000 just yet. So I'm all for setting big, ambitious goals. But if those goals you're setting are something you're thinking you're going to do over 12 months, you're living a dream world, and you're only going to frustrate yourself when you fail to achieve what you really want. But again, that doesn't mean setting a goal to having $10 million is not a good one to have. It's just you need to be realistic over what's the right place to start. And that's where setting SMART goals, quote unquote, is a great idea to do over the short term being 12 months. So let's give more examples. So SMART, the S in SMART stands for specific. If you want a goal to say, I want to be healthy, I want to go to the gym, those are very ambiguous goals. Do you want to go to the gym once a week, 3 times a week? How long do you want to spend at the gym? What do you want to do to be healthy? Do you want to eat better? Do you want to eat a certain type of food differently? Do you want to give up certain foods altogether? You need to be very specific, because unless you're specific, you're not going to be able to sink your teeth into how you're doing when you evaluate your goals, and if you're on the right track, if you're on the right path. So being specific in your goal setting is an extremely important element of this exercise altogether. So instead of saying, I want to go to the gym, a better goal would, or I want to lose weight, let's use that. Instead of saying, I want to lose weight, a better goal would say, I want to lose 15 pounds, or I want to lose body fat so that it's below 15%, 12%, whatever the case is. Be very specific. And specific then ties well into measurable. We oftentimes find ourselves working as an employee for mid to large size companies. And what do we do in the beginning of every year? We set goals. We set goals of what we'd like to achieve that year, so that at the midpoint or the end of the year, we can be measured on how we did. And for some of us who have bonuses as part of our compensation, we can be measured to see, did we fell short of the goal? Did we meet it? Did we exceed it? So we can have a level of improvements and see really what we achieved. The same should hold true for our lives. We need to have goals that we can measure. So to say, I plan to go to the gym. So at a high level, the goal is I want to be healthy. Then the sub goals behind that you can measure are, I want to go to the gym at least 4 days a week for no less than 1 hour. I want to lose at least 10 pounds where I could see all of my abdominals, or I want to bring my body fat percentage from 18% down to 12%. So specific and something that you could measure later at a point in time. Another critical thing of measuring is the frequency. I have learned the importance of treating my personal life goals no differently than my career goals or what I do at work. I have picked up habits where I review my goals at minimum a few days a week. A different video that I'll show is I actually have a folder and I write down my goals. And I, every week, read my goals. And I take notes of how I'm doing. I may change things along the way. But I read these goals and I measure myself of how I'm doing. Am I on the right path? And I really use that to hold myself accountable. So very important. So S is for specific. M is for measurable. The next is A. A is attainable. This is the element I touched on in the beginning of the video, where putting SMART goals together are also putting goals together in a way that are achievable, are small building blocks to quick wins, but they also help build the right level of confidence and the right level of habits. So what do I mean by that? If I have a goal of, I want $10,000 of passive income with a side hustle every month, and I set that goal this year, that's not attainable for me, most likely, because I have not figured out a system and a process to acquire $500 a month. So while it's very ambitious to say I'd like to make 6 figures this year in passive income, I don't have the knowledge, resources, or tools yet to figure that out. So I would be highly unlikely for me to attain that goal. So based on my knowledge, my resources, and my time, a more attainable goal would start out with saying, I will look to have passive income of at least $500. And then every month I can see how I'm tracking, and if I'm following the right processes, if I'm following the right people, and I'm putting in the grit and the time, and I could actually amass 300, 500, 600, then I can come back to my objectives and say, wow, I'm doing a great job. So 500, cross that out. I'm now going to shoot for 1,000. If I hit 1,000, try 2,500. So this is the point of saying you want to set goals that are attainable over the next 12 months so that you build momentum, you build quick wins, and you find a way to learn what it takes to do that so that you can build on it in a compound way, 5x, 10x momentum. So that's really important also. So S is specific, measurable. A is attainable. The next is relevant. This is really important. Having relevant goals. What does this mean? Oftentimes, it's very popular for us to dump a ton of goals on our lap and then not really realize how relevant they are to the big picture. So again, in my example, I had set in January of 2019, I built 7 pillars, 7 important parts of my life that I want to start elevating. My finances, my public service, my health and physical fitness, the business. I mean, there was a number of them, but now's not the time to go into that detail. But then I asked myself, what are the relevant goals that I need to put in each pillar in order to have the best odds for success? Does that mean the goals I set January of last year were all the right ones? No. And in a separate video, you'll see how when I measured my progress over the last 12 months, you'll see how I ended up just canceling some altogether because they weren't relevant enough to the big picture. They were distractions. They were white noise. Or maybe they were the right goals, but just not at the right time. So making sure you take a look at your goals, ask yourself how relevant they are. You could use an 80-20 rule to say, what goals, if I could take 20% of the goals, what goals would those 20% be to achieve 80% success? The last is time-bound, time-based. You hear different wording for it, but this puts a ring fence around your accountability. So instead of saying, I want to lose 20 pounds, you can say, I want to lose 5 pounds by July 2019, and I want to lose the remaining 15 pounds by December 2019. Putting a time element to a goal is an important way so you can keep track of how you're doing, see if you're falling behind, and figure out how you can right-size it. A key example for me is I had a goal of going to the gym last year 5 days a week for at least an hour. Halfway through the year, I started to slack off. There were some life reasons why that was happening. For one, my wife and I were having a baby. We were going through IVF. It was very demanding on our time. There was a lot of things we had to do at home, medically speaking, and I didn't have as much free time. I let that allow me to fall off the tracks with my going to the gym habit. But through the processes I put in place throughout the year, through the daily habits and the daily rituals I had, I was realizing that I was falling off track. And then I had an opportunity to get back on the train and follow that journey from July to December. Is quite amazing because I found that that's the time of the year where I actually acquired the most results. So T is for time-based, time-bound. So in summary, setting smart objectives or SMART goals over the short term I found to be extremely rewarding. SMART stands for specific, M is for measurable, A is for attainable, R is for relevant, and T is for time-based. Definitely take these into consideration. And then over the long term, 24 months plus, 3 to 5 years, be as bold and as crazy as you want, because that's really what we're here for, right, guys? We're here to achieve and exceed our potential. And we want to think big, but we also need to be realistic and put in the right processes over the short term. I will plan to put another video against how I measured and talk about my goals from last year and how I stacked up. And I'll look to put a link somewhere in this video after the fact, and the link may be in the comments, so that you could see really what I'm talking about and how I put this into practice, because I'm living what I'm talking about here. I'm not making stuff up. You can actually see my journey over the last 12 months. I pumped out around 60 videos this last 12 months, which wasn't my goal. My goal was around 100, but I put out a lot of content that chronicled my journey in navigating through this large set of goals that I wanted for my life. And you can see, how I evolved. So I encourage you to take a look out for that. And if you really like that, like what you see, I'd love for you to subscribe to my channel and click the bell button so you can get notified of new content that I put out. I'm not here selling anything. At least at the moment. I'm not here to offer you any emails so I can get your email address. I'm just here explaining what I've learned in my life so far, chronicling the journey along the way, and hopefully hitting a finish line that brings a lot of success so that I can look back and demonstrate how I did that to others. Thank you guys so much for your attention. I wish you a great day. I wish you a great start to your new year, and I really hope that you hit the ground running.